During my upbringing, my life resembled what many might consider a fairy tale. My name is Evelyn Harrison, born into the esteemed Harrison family, known for its influence in our city. Though our name frequently graced the headlines for various events, behind closed doors, we were simply a typical family. My father helmed Harrison Industries, a colossal conglomerate spanning industries from technology to fashion. Despite growing up in opulent mansions, attending prestigious schools, and embarking on lavish vacations, I never quite felt tethered to that affluent lifestyle. I found solace in the simple pleasures of reading and engaging in heartfelt conversations with close companions. At one of our family gatherings, I encountered Daniel, a departure from the familiar faces of privilege. He wasn't born into wealth. Instead, he was catering the event. His laughter was genuine. His eyes sparkled with an authenticity I hadn't witnessed in a long time. "You're Evelyn, right?" he asked, extending a drink. I nodded, and he introduced himself with a warm smile. Our ensuing conversation flowed effortlessly, as if we had been lifelong friends. Daniel opened my eyes to a world beyond my privileged bubble. Several months into our relationship, I introduced Daniel to my family. When my father inquired about his profession, Daniel confidently stated he was a caterer. My mother welcomed him graciously, expressing pleasure in meeting him. As our bond deepened, I became acquainted with Daniel's parents, who resided in a modest home among amiable neighbors. As our love blossomed, I often used my father's resources to pamper Daniel and occasionally gifted tokens of appreciation to his parents. Sharing my blessings with those I cherished brought me immense joy. Then, one morning, my father summoned me urgently to the office. His tone conveyed urgency, leaving me perplexed and anxious. I hastily prepared and made my way to Harrison Industries, where the office hummed with activity. Entering my father's office, I was met with an unusual atmosphere. Conversations were subdued, and numerous faces wore expressions of concern. Dad sat behind his imposing desk, surrounded by scattered papers, his complexion pale, as if he hadn't slept in days. "What's going on, Dad?" I asked, my voice laced with worry. Taking a deep breath, he struggled to find the right words. "Harrison Industries is declaring bankruptcy," he finally confessed. My heart sank. "What do you mean? How did this happen?" I collapsed into a nearby chair, trying to digest the news. Our life was about to change drastically. Returning home, I paused at the door, grappling with how to break the news to Daniel. Sensing my distress, he immediately inquired, "Evelyn, what happened?" Taking a deep breath, I shared the devastating news. Daniel looked stunned. "But how?" "We've been facing losses, but I had no idea it was this bad," I admitted, tears welling in my eyes. He enveloped me in a comforting embrace. "We'll get through this, Evelyn, together." From there, events unfolded rapidly. Our luxurious apartment, filled with memories of our love, became the first casualty. My father's assets were frozen, and our lavish lifestyle evaporated overnight. "We'll have to move in with my parents," Daniel suggested one evening, as we sat surrounded by packed boxes. "At least until we figure things out." I nodded, swallowing my pride. "It's just for a short while," I reassured myself. Little did I know, the true challenges of our relationship were only beginning. Without the safety net of wealth, we embarked on a journey fraught with uncertainty. Moving into the Thompsons' house was a stark contrast to the opulent spaces I was accustomed to. Their home was warm and inviting, albeit smaller than what I was used to. But I reminded myself it was temporary. Initially, everything seemed fine. Mrs. Thompson cooked delicious meals, and Mr. Thompson shared captivating stories from his youth. However, as days turned into weeks, subtle shifts in behavior became apparent. Simple gestures, like Mrs. Thompson's watchful gaze when I took an extra serving of dinner, or Mr. Thompson's habit of turning off lights prematurely, hinted at underlying tension. One morning, while setting the breakfast table, Mrs. Thompson made a remark that struck a chord. "You know, Evelyn, back in our day, we would only use one type of jam for breakfast, not three. Helps save money," she said casually, eyeing the array of jars on the table. Suddenly feeling self-conscious, I replied softly, "I'll keep that in mind." Daniel began to change as well. The easygoing, jovial person I fell in love with seemed distant. He would snap at small things and return home from work visibly stressed. Concerned, I broached the subject one evening. "Daniel, is everything okay at work?" I asked, noting his exhaustion. He sighed heavily, admitting, "It's just stressful. We need money, and I'm doing everything I can." I reached out to comfort him, suggesting I could look for a job too. His response stung. "Maybe you should. It's high time," he retorted. This shift in attitude was further illuminated one Saturday as I overheard a conversation between Daniel and his parents. "She doesn't understand the value of money, Ma. She's lived a silver spoon life," Mrs. Thompson remarked. My heart sank as I realized they saw me as a burden. Despite my efforts to adapt and contribute, every action was scrutinized, every decision questioned. Attempting to fit in, I took up a job, contributed to expenses, and cut down on personal spending. Yet, the once warm household now felt cold and unwelcoming. Evenings that were once filled with laughter grew silent, tension lingering in the air. Simple joys like celebrating birthdays became a distant memory. It became evident that the financial strain was not only impacting our lifestyle, but also our relationship. As time passed, the divide widened, and I couldn't shake the feeling that things would only get worse. Months into our stay, Mr. Thompson's birthday approached. In previous years, it had been marked by a simple family dinner at home. However, this year, they decided to celebrate at a nearby restaurant, inviting me to join them. I felt a mix of hope and anxiety. It was a chance for us to bond as a family again, away from the confines of the house. Maybe things could start to improve. Perhaps this dinner could be a turning point. On the evening of the celebration, I made sure to dress modestly, not wanting to invite any negative comments. As we entered the restaurant, I took in the familiar ambience, a place I had visited many times before under different circumstances. The waiter led us to a reserved table, and I noticed some patrons glancing at us, recognizing me from the old days. The thought made me slightly uncomfortable, but I pushed it aside. We settled in, and menus were handed out. Glancing through, I noted the prices. Back when my family was affluent, such numbers would have been insignificant. But now every dollar counted. Wanting to be considerate, I decided on a relatively inexpensive dish. Daniel spoke up. "I'll have the steak, medium rare," opting for one of the pricier items on the menu. His mother chose lobster, while Mr. Thompson opted for a full 3-course meal. I felt a bit surprised, but said nothing, waiting for my turn to order. As I was about to speak, Mrs. Thompson interrupted. "She'll have the garden salad and tap water." I was taken aback. "Actually, I was thinking of the chicken," I started to say. But Mrs. Thompson's voice had a sharp edge. "The salad is plenty. We need to be mindful of our expenses." I felt humiliated, cheeks burning as I sensed the eyes of nearby tables on us. Daniel chimed in, chuckling, "Yeah, Evelyn can't always get the fancy stuff anymore." My heart sank. This was the man I loved, the man who once promised to stand by me through thick and thin. Before I could muster a response, Mr. Thompson added, "You should be grateful. Some people don't even get bread." Their laughter echoed in my ears, and a heavy lump formed in my throat. I felt like a spectacle, humiliated in front of an audience. Summoning all the strength I had, I said, "I may not have the money I once did, but I still have my dignity." Standing up, I left the table, the restaurant, and the whispers behind. The dinner, which I had hoped would be a turning point, had turned into a disaster. But it was also an awakening. I realized that while money could be lost and regained, some relationships were damaged beyond repair. As I walked out into the cool night, I felt more determined than ever to find my way out of this mess. Morning rays streaked through the room, and with a heavy heart, I made my way downstairs. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee contrasted sharply with the cold atmosphere that greeted me. There, sitting around the breakfast table, were Daniel, his father, and his mother, the events of the previous night still fresh in their minds and mine. the silence was palpable. Eager to break the tension, I decided to address the elephant in the room. I understand last night was uncomfortable for everyone. Can we discuss it? I ventured. Daniel's mother scoffed. Uncomfortable? That's one way to put it. It was downright embarrassing, Evelyn. His father chimed in. What were you thinking? Making a scene in a public place over something as petty as a dish. Daniel looked at me, his eyes void of the warmth they once held. You could have taken it up with us privately, he said. I was hurt. I defended myself, trying to keep my emotions in check. When I saw that you all intentionally ordered the cheapest dish for me, it felt like a slap in the face. It's just food, Evelyn, Daniel said dismissively. No, it's not just about the food, I countered, my voice trembling with anger and hurt. It's about respect, understanding, and love. I turned to Daniel, searching for any trace of the man I fell in love with. Do you even love me, Daniel? Or was it always about the money? I asked, my heart pounding. He hesitated for a moment, then replied with a smirk. Money is a significant addition to love, isn't it? His words hit me harder than anything before, filled with cynicism and devoid of emotion. To add salt to the wound, his mother added, You were never a good fit for our family, always spending without thinking. Now you're just a freeloader. The hurt was too much to bear. The walls of the house, which once felt welcoming, now seemed to close in on me. Without another word, I turned away, my heart heavy, realizing that the love I thought was unbreakable was built on a foundation of convenience and materialism. Tears blurred my vision as I drove the familiar route to my parents' home. Every turn, every tree brought back memories of a life that now felt worlds away. I wasn't sure how my parents would react, but I needed the comfort of home. The driveway looked the same, lined with the roses my mother loved so dearly. As I stepped out of the car, the front door opened, revealing my mother's worried face. Evelyn. She rushed towards me, pulling me into a tight embrace. Her warmth was an immediate solace, and I allowed myself a moment to just be held. Pulling back, she cupped my face, her eyes scanning for answers. What happened, my love? She asked, concern evident in her voice. I swallowed hard, recounting the events of the past few months, ending with the disastrous dinner. She listened intently, her face a mixture of concern and anger. Oh, Evelyn, she sighed. You deserve so much better. I thought they loved me. I thought Daniel loved me, I said. Sometimes adversity reveals people's true colors, she said softly. We were interrupted by the sound of my father's footsteps. He had a newspaper in hand, an amused expression on his face. Is that my daughter I hear? He said, feigning surprise. Dad. I chuckled through my tears. He enveloped me in a hug, then held the newspaper out to me. The headline read, Jackson Enterprises. From the brink to booming. We're back on track, he said with a smile. I looked at him, shocked. But how? It turns out the financial crisis wasn't as severe as we thought. With some smart moves and a bit of luck, we've not only recovered. I blinked back fresh tears, this time of relief. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. He shrugged. I didn't want you to worry. Besides, I wanted to see who truly cared for my daughter, money or no money, he replied, earning a scolding glance from my mother. You and your tests, John, she said with a sigh, but a hint of amusement in her voice. I laughed. Typical dad. We spent the evening reminiscing, the warmth of my childhood home providing the comfort I so desperately needed. As night fell and I lay in my old room, I realized that while I had lost a partner in Daniel, I had regained something far more valuable. My self-worth and the unwavering love of my family. No amount of money could replace that. The weight of the recent events left an indelible mark on my soul, but it also gave me newfound clarity. With renewed determination, I made my way back to Daniel's parents' home one last time, a suitcase in one hand and a folded newspaper in the other. Daniel, caught off guard, looked at me. Evelyn, what are you doing? Ending this charade, I replied calmly, handing him the divorce papers. His face went pale, and he stammered, "What? What is this?" "Exactly what it looks like." "I'm done, Daniel," I said firmly. His mother, with a smug look on her face, chimed in, "Good riddance. We knew you'd come to your senses and leave our son. It's for the best." Suppressing the urge to snap back, I unfolded the newspaper and handed it over to them. The headline gleamed, "Local Business Tycoon's Company Makes Remarkable Comeback." Daniel's father took the newspaper, reading aloud, his voice quivering. After facing potential bankruptcy, the company managed to not only stay afloat, but has also seen unprecedented growth in the past few weeks. My gaze never wavered. "You were so eager to label me a freeloader. It turns out life has a funny way of showing us who truly is shallow." I left the house with no intention of ever looking back. Over the next few days, my phone was inundated with calls from Daniel. Messages full of regret, apologies, and pleas for a second chance. And just when I thought I had heard the last from them, postcards started arriving at my parents' home. Picturesque landscapes with scribbled messages from his parents, each bearing the same desperate sentiment: "Forgive us." But their words meant nothing. The pain and humiliation they had put me through were still fresh in my mind. One evening, after yet another call from Daniel, I decided it was time to put an end to this. Answering the phone, I said, "Daniel, I've moved on. Your calls, your parents' postcards, they mean nothing. We had our time, and it's over." The line went silent for a moment before he whispered, "I'm sorry, Evelyn, but apologies weren't enough. I was done giving chances. It was time to rebuild and focus on myself, far away from the toxic web of deceit and conditional love." My phone buzzed with a message. It was from Jenny. "Hey, heard there's a new art gallery opening downtown. Want to check it out?" I quickly typed back, "Absolutely. Let's go." That evening, the gallery was brimming with people, and the art ranged from vibrant paintings to intricate sculptures, each piece telling a unique story. Jenny and I moved from one exhibit to the next, soaking in the creative atmosphere. At one particular painting, a depiction of a phoenix rising from the ashes, I felt an odd connection. It mirrored my own journey. Jenny, noticing my fixation, commented, "It's beautiful, isn't it? The idea of rebirth, rising from adversity." I nodded. "It's symbolic. Reminds me of, well, everything." Later, as we grabbed a bite at a nearby cafe, Jenny looked thoughtful. "You know, there's this workshop next week. It's about rediscovering oneself, finding one's passion. Want to give it a shot?" My initial hesitation was evident, but then I thought, why not? Sure, let's do it. Over the next few weeks, the workshop became a transformative experience. I dabbled in different activities, finding solace in painting. It became a therapeutic outlet for my emotions, each stroke reflecting my innermost feelings. One evening, after a particularly intense session, the workshop instructor approached me. "Your work, Evelyn, it's exceptional. Have you considered showcasing it?" The idea had never crossed my mind. "No, I haven't. But thank you," I said. He smiled. "Think about it. Your art tells a story, and it deserves to be shared." Days turned into weeks, and soon my small home studio was filled with paintings. The once unpacked boxes now contained art supplies. The transition was evident. From a woman scorned to an artist reborn. My father, ever the supportive figure, suggested organizing an exhibition, and with a little persuasion, I agreed. The opening night of the exhibition was a blur. Friends, family, and even strangers admired my work. The Phoenix painting, inspired by the gallery visit, was the star attraction. The evening concluded with a surprise. The workshop instructor approached, holding a check. "A buyer, Evelyn, for the Phoenix painting," he said. Stunned, I stared at the figure. It wasn't about the money, but the validation. My journey, my pain, my rebirth. It had resonated with someone. As the day settled and the exhibition came to a close, I realized that life was full of unexpected twists. But with each downfall, there was an opportunity for a new beginning. My past with Daniel was just that. In the past, I had found my passion, my calling, and for the first time in a long time, I was genuinely happy. Life had come full circle, from pain to passion, from despair to hope. It was indeed a new beginning, and I was ready to embrace whatever came my way.